Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching this week's video. We are back to another week. I was about to say another episode, but I ain't recording podcasts consistently during tax season because tax season is whipping my butt. What? Technology is technologying. Documents are documenting, making sure the rules don't change. All of it is going down and making sure that we do stuff on point so that we can actually give you that customer service is making all the difference. So that podcast got to wait until your girl can go live, because why would I decide I was going to go live consistently and I still need to do some stuff? But I am looking forward to going live on Fridays. I did not get to go live last Friday. I had a wonderful session with some clients where we're doing some accounting with. Wonderful session. Great conversation. But it took a lot out of me. And it went right up to almost time for me to go live. So I wasn't able to do that. For all of you all that sent a birthday shout out to me, thank you so very much. Yes, my birthday is smack dab in the heat of all tax season deadlines and things and going through stuff, right? So it's right there in the smack of all kinds of stuff. And so I'm grateful. People were like, I hope you had a great day. I actually worked. I had meetings on my birthday. It happened to be a meeting day. But next year, with it falling on either a Friday or Saturday, going into the weekend, I probably will actually back myself into some stuff where I actually take the day off. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to say thank you for everybody that did give me a birthday shout out. It was heartfelt. I do, just to be acknowledged, just for somebody, oh, it's your birthday today. It could be a complete stranger. That lets you know that, hey, you are seen. It was very reflective for me. And the reason why it was so reflective is because I remember 6 years ago, I was coming on to the end of March when I actually left the federal government. Did not retire, left, and said, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do this full time. Had been doing it for years, but decided I wanted to build this out, see how I could contribute. And it's been, March 31st will be 6 years that we did this full time. And I'm so grateful to all my clients. I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to my family for the flexibility, because they know how it is when it gets to be crazy like this, especially during the thick of busy season. Okay. So I say all that to say, here we are, second week in. Last week, we talked about the first statute. What was the first statute, y'all? Classroom, what was the first statute? The statute was the assessment statute expiration date. And what was that? Just a real quick recap before we go into this one, because I actually think this is the one that matters a little bit more to individuals than people realize, right? So it is how long the IRS has to assess additional tax after you file that tax return. They got up to 3 years. There are some exceptions, right? But you said this and you turn this in and they go, we got to make some corrections to it, right? There's statute dates when they can assess that additional tax. Now, today we're going to talk about the one that probably matters to most people, especially it's actually, I'm going to say, out of the statutes, it is the statute that I'm always concerned about when I'm doing resolution and coming up with strategies. Why? Because I'm trying to figure out if your tax return is actually in a collection status, and if it is, how far in that collection status we are. So when you know today's statute is called the Collection Statute Expiration Date, we're going to jump right into the presentation, because this one is crucial and critical, because I need y'all to understand some stuff. All right, so let's do it. The time the IRS can collect tax, y'all know there's a time limit associated with it. The IRS has 10 years from the date your tax was assessed. Now y'all understand why y'all need that CSED date, right? Because that's going to determine when the clock starts ticking for this statute. All right, so we got 10 years. Let's go back out. What did I do? I went in. Zoom. Out. The IRS generally has 10 years from the date of the CSED to collect the tax and associated penalties and any interest. That's called my CSED date, my Collection Statute Expiration Date. Y'all want to know what this is? She matters. She matters a lot. All right. What does it cover? It covers amended returns. It covers those substitute for returns. We talked about those a lot last week. It covers the original tax that was owed. It covers any civil penalties. Those are penalties and certain associated interests, right? And it covers any audit findings. Any of these can actually trigger the date to continue to go on. Hey, wait a minute. When do we go into this 10-year clock? You got to figure out what assessment they're using. And so this is really why when I'm going through, this is the heavy hitter for me. Because I'm like, hey, my clock's for real ticking. Right? So I got to go figure out what the IRS is proposing the CSED date is. And we got to look, and I'm going to use the assessment date, but I'm going to be like, well, what do they say the CSED date is? And how far are we out from that CSED date? So anybody who's ever worked with me and they're like, what? You probably didn't understand it either. I'm just like, hey, this is how long, this is how I say it. This is how long before I see this fall off. This is how much time we got still on the clock. I'm using a strategy. I'm going to build a strategy around this clock because this makes a big difference. And y'all notice there's several different things. Like I got to figure out, do we got any substitute for returns? I got to figure out, even though you got a tax assessed on the original, when you amended it, that actually sends my days out just a little bit more, depending on how far the difference was from an amended return and an original return being filed. What's going on with these penalties? Are they going to fall off? When are they going to fall off? Right? And did you go through audit and the audit and whoever audited reevaluate and say you owe them some more tax? What's going on here? I got to know all of it. All right, so let's look at why we got to know all of it. All right, first of all, when the IRS assesses a tax, they're going to mail you a letter. They're not going to call you. They're not going to email you. They're not going to text you. That's not what the IRS currently does, okay? They're going to mail you a letter, and that notice going to have a breakout of, this is the tax that was due. This is the tax that was paid. These are the penalties and interest. I told y'all that before. And those letters will have different numbers, but normally I'll get a CP letter of some sort that tell me this is what's outstanding, this is what you owe, this is what you gotta owe, and y'all trying to figure out. Open them letters, please. Open the letters. And if you're reaching out to a tax professional that actually handles resolution or helps with tax problem solving like myself, I'm gonna let you see my face. Please send us all pages. Don't just send the first and the third page. I need to see the calculations. The reason why I need to see the calculations is because I need to see what the amounts were, and I need to see dates, right? Before I go in and start doing my research and my analysis, right? Because some people I have power of attorney for, some people I don't. I need to know everything that's on that letter. And so this is important that you send all pages, front, back of the letter when you're dealing with somebody who you have and that you're paying to assist you with a situation like this. Why? Because don't assume that we can see everything, and don't assume that the IRS gave us everything, especially before we have power of attorney. Okay? We want to know what you know, or what we think you know. So send us all the pages. All right, that's my commercial break. How to find your CSED. The only way you find it is on an account transcript. How do we get an account transcript? Each and every one of you all, under the sound of my voice, should have an IRS online account. Y'all got to know what they know about you. That's what it's on the front page. www.irs.gov. Get you access to your IRS online account. And if you can't get in now, do the steps so you can have access to it. Please. Back in the day, it was not as easy as it is now because it looks different, right? The layout of that page, okay, you owe for this year, you don't owe for this year. I can remember back in the day, it did not look as cute as it does. Interface makes, UI makes a big difference, okay? The way they've laid that out, know what they know about you. And then you can get a transcript request form by filling out a 4506T. But if you got your access to your account, you can download it, and even if it is all marked up and they don't got all the numbers on it and it's redacted, right? Or it's masked, If you send that to somebody like myself, we can figure some stuff out. You can also call the automated line. Good luck with that. And we're going to look for, under the transcript section, we're looking for 3-digit IRS code with a date below it. Y'all like, huh? And worst case scenario, if y'all believe it's incorrect, y'all got a taxpayer advocate service. They are a part of the IRS, but they work outside of the IRS parameters. And sometimes we go to them and sometimes we don't. I just had to ask somebody for, when I was on the phone with the IRS last week, I was like, is this a taxpayer advocate situation where I could actually get some stuff faster? And the person was like, no, go through this process, check back in 30 days. You, as the person who has POA, can call back. So I'd be like, hey, are we going to get something faster if we go through the taxpayer advocate? I'm going to use all the resources that the IRS got. That's what they there for. All right. So now we're going to look at an IRS transcript. This transcript is fictional. It complies with the law requiring the IRS to keep taxpayers' returns and return information confidential. Why? Because I went and pulled this from something on the IRS website. So we're going to actually look at this. Hopefully it looked fuzzy. But see, y'all see that code? What's that code? That code is 170 on the side. Penalty for not prepaying tax. That date up underneath it, that's the Collection Statute Expiration Date. I'm about to go actually pull my book. Behind me, I have this code book. Y'all hear me flipping pages. They give me all the codes and the notes, part of the organization I'm with for resolution. I'm grateful for it. Because we got codes and stuff like that. I probably need to check my updated one. What do all these codes and what do all these numbers and what do all these forms and stuff like that mean? I'm not showing it on the screen. So if you're like, but I can't see anything. I do have resources and resources for days. 4 days to tell me what these codes and these numbers mean, because they're helpful to know. And I don't know everything. And even people who work at the IRS got to go to the code book and go figure out, well, what do this mean? And when you say this letter and you put this combination together, what does that mean? All of these things are important in any profession. Knowing terminology gets you far. Gets you far. I'm going to have to pull up. Let me see if I pull up a cheat sheet for the codes. And that probably sounds like I'm far away because I am. To see if I can pull up a cheat sheet for the codes. I'll go find one. But needless to say, this, like I said, this is a fictitious transcript, but it gives you an idea, right? So amounts, there's dates. It tells you a whole lot. A transcript can tell you a whole lot. Oh, I don't went too fast. My bad, y'all. A transcript can tell you a whole lot. And that's why we want that information. All right? Take a look. It tells me, hey, the notice was issued on this day. What kind of notice was it? The CP0014. Each form means something different. A lot of stuff happens when we're reading this. It looks like a foreign letter. It's like when you go to the doctor and they got all the scribbles, or if you're looking at your, what's it called, y'all? My brain right now with the fogginess. You looking at the healthcare form and you looking at all the codes for my medical billers out there. This reminds me of that type of form. Like everything means something. There's a different code explanation. Those transcripts are crucial. Account transcripts tell me stuff. And so we got a wage and income transcript that tells me one thing. We have a return transcript that tells me something else. And I have an account transcript that tells me something even totally different. So when y'all are looking and y'all are like, hey, you told me to go to my irs.gov account and there's tons of transcripts, which one do I pick? Make sure you know which one you're picking. All right. And I don't know if we talked about transcripts. I think we talked about transcripts before in a weekly video. All right. Because I said I won't go hold y'all for forever. Let's go through. Suspended versus extended. How the CSED can change. When the IRS is prohibited by law from collecting the tax, the CSED is suspended. It pauses and it resumes after the event ends. So sometimes there's some things that'll like make it keep going, and there's sometimes that'll put it on hold. when the IRS is permitted by law to add time to the 10 years, because we told you at a minimum, CSED, they got 10 years to collect it. But there are some times where they will extend it. Both suspensions and extensions delay the CSED, giving us more time than we think. And so therefore we got to know on these transcripts. That's why I want to look at the transcript to see what they say the CSED is. And there is even another transcript that I could go to that gives me more detail that you would not be able to pull from your account. All right. Situations that add more time. Installment agreement. Rejection or withdrawal, it's extended by 30 days. Bankruptcy, and we talked about bankruptcy a little bit on ACEDs, right? It gives you an additional 6 months after the conclusion. Because y'all could be there for a while, right? That's a suspension. We got suspension and an extension in here. Suspend CSED for petition date until we figure out what's going on and get closed. But we got an extension after everything's wrapped up. Offer and compromise. The thing y'all hear on the radio all the time. Pennies on a dollar. It suspends it during the review. So while they looking at stuff, our CSED, our collection statute was on hold. If they come back and they reject it, it suspends it another 30 days. Now, I can tell you with OICs, depending on what's going on, they could take up to 18 months. I have not seen, and I'm going to say 18 months. I have not seen anything go up to 2 years. Why? Because in 2 years, they got to automatically put you in that OIC. And I have not seen anything, not saying it hasn't happened. I'm saying what I've seen. And I have not personally seen. Has it happened for people? I'm sure. But I have not personally seen them hit that 2 years, so they automatically goes. They'll get there to 90 days before that 2 years is up. And next thing you know, they're like, we looked at it. Nope, this is not going to go. Are we accepting it? Because they don't want to put you in an automatic offer and compromise. An appeal suspends the time until the appeal is concluded. So we add more time when we're doing some of this stuff on a collection statute because they going to get their monies. All right. Collection due process hearing. You'll see this as part of the process. Suspends the CSED from request to final determination. And it'll put it on hold. But then after that final determination, it extends it 90 additional days. Innocent spouse relief. CSED is suspended. But extends it after the decision has been made. It extends it by 60 days. Right? Military people. CSED is suspended for 180 days if we in a combat zone. Certain military service suspends for service period plus an additional 270 days from IRS notification. Our warfighters still got to pay their taxes and go through stuff, and they in a voluntary service. Go figure. Okay? Thank y'all for y'all service. All my military people, all my vets, all my active military. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you're living outside of the U.S., you continuously outside of the U.S., 6 months plus, you generally suspend the CSED. Upon the time you return, they may extend that joint. But for a lot of my abroad people, y'all filing y'all taxes on time. Substitute for return. If you don't file and the IRS got to create a return for you, the CSED starts at the time they get that done and they assess that tax off of that substitute for return. Okay? If less taxes due, the original CSED stays. If more taxes due, they might add new time to it. All right. So we got to remember, CSED is one of 3 statutes. The first one we talked about was the ACED, assessment, right? The time for them to assess the tax. The second one we talked about today, I feel like this is the one that gets people the most because of what it can do. Once we are actively in a collection situation, it has a bigger impact. And this is what we are really trying to leverage as enrolled agents, as CPAs, as tax attorneys, that actively are doing tax relief for clients, we are looking at the combination of the ASED and the collection statute and heavily relying on this, when's my clock gonna stop, as to what I'm gonna recommend and how I'm gonna recommend it. All right. And then what we're gonna talk about next week is, this is personally to the tax payer, how much time you got to claim a refund or a credit, because we need to break that down so that you stay within that window. Your biggest takeaways from this week is, A, if you don't have an IRS tax account, go get you one. IRS.gov, please, because it allows you to pull a wage and income transcript, a account transcript, a tax return transcript, and those transcripts have pertinent information on them. Even if you cannot read it, if you can find somebody who understands how to read the transcript, it could help you in the long run develop a strategy for your tax relief situation. Okay? Because everybody's not going to qualify for offering compromise. Everybody's not going to qualify for a partial pay installment agreement, and everybody's not going to qualify for currently not collectible. Well, I don't know, because the way this world going, more of us might fall into that category, number 3. But you want to make sure that you not only figure out what strategy you're going to leverage, but you have to know these statutes because they make a big difference. You need to know when the tax was assessed, how much time, if any, additional tax can be assessed, and when my clock starts and stops for them to be able to collect, if I'm actually in a collection status. I might have opened the door to be like, well, how do I know if I'm not in a collection status? I get it. We ain't gonna talk about this week. I just want you to know what the statute is. I want you to know what things could put it on pause. I want you to know what could extend it. And I want you to understand that next week that we're going to talk about the statute that you might be like, well, hey, I don't want to be out here not filing taxes for a long period of time because I got a small window to be able to get my refund or claim a credit, such as when we were doing stimulus, to be able to see that if there's some money owed to me, that it's not just floating out there and it's not out there indefinitely. There is a period of time that you have to come get it. Okay? So that's what I got for you this week. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if this drew you to more questions or not. And then let me know what stood out to you the most from this week's video versus what you learned last week in the ASED video. ASED versus CSED. Which team you on? I'm team CSED all day. Even though they both matter, I'm team CSED all day. And I be watching that thing like a clock. Because when the clock stops, until next week, I'ma holla at y'all. Peace.